Imagine staring out the window at a seemingly endless ribbon of concrete, lights and rooftops. Then realizing you're no longer in one city, but in a region where one city is swallowing the next. That's exactly what's happening in Texas. It's not just that new homes are going up, or one suburb is pushing into another. It's that the gap between what used to be distinct metro areas is shrinking so fast that very soon, you won't know where Dallas ends and Austin begins. In this video, I'm going to unpack how Texas is slowly turning into one giant city, and what that really means for you, whether you live here or are thinking of moving. You're probably asking yourself, why should I care if cities merge? Isn't that just growth? But here's the crux. When cities merge, it changes everything from your daily commute to housing prices, your lifestyle, and even where your kids might go to school. The benefits seem obvious. More jobs, more choice. But the trade-offs are rarely so obvious. I've dug into the migration trends, the infrastructure shuffle, the housing boom, and the land use data so you can see not just that Texas is changing, but how and why. I promise by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what's driving this transformation and what might be coming next. So buckle up. From next month, this mega urban movement isn't just going to be data on a chart. It's going to hit your traffic app, your property search filter, maybe your budget. And believe me, you'll want to be ready. The boom that never stopped. Texas is expanding at a pace that feels almost unstoppable. The state's population has surged past 30 million people, and every few months, it adds more residents than many states do in an entire year. What's happening here isn't just growth, it's transformation. New arrivals are streaming in from every corner of the country, drawn by the promise of opportunity, space, and a lifestyle that feels both modern and affordable. Each week, thousands of people unload moving trucks somewhere between Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, and Houston, reshaping what Texas looks like mile by mile. The most striking part of this boom is where it's unfolding. Towns that once sat comfortably outside major cities are now fully connected to them. Farmland is turning into neighborhoods, and open fields are giving way to endless stretches of new housing developments. The skyline isn't just rising in downtowns. It's stretching outward in every direction. Suburban belts are colliding, and small towns that used to stand apart now share the same traffic, schools, and skyline glow. What drives this momentum isn't luck. It's a powerful mix of job creation, lower taxes, diverse industries, and an energy economy that keeps the state's engine running no matter what happens nationally. Major employers continue to relocate here, fueling demand for new homes and commercial space. Remote work has added fuel to the fire, allowing professionals to chase the Texas dream without needing to live near an office tower. The result is a state in constant motion. Highways that were once quiet are now packed during every hour of the day. Communities that didn't exist a few years ago already have their own schools, coffee shops, and shopping centers. From next month, another wave of developments will break ground, stretching the edges of existing cities even farther. The lines between urban and rural are fading, replaced by a new reality where growth feels continuous. Texas's boom isn't slowing down, it's evolving. What started as city growth has turned into something far bigger. A living, breathing network of expansion that no longer fits within traditional city limits. The question isn't whether Texas can keep growing, but whether anything can slow it down. The web of supermetros. Imagine driving across Texas and realizing that the open land separating major cities is fading away. What once felt like a long trip between metro areas is now an unbroken chain of suburbs, shopping centers, and highways. This isn't just growth. It's the quiet merging of cities into a single web of urban life that stretches farther every year. The Texas Triangle, made up of Dallas-Fort Worth, Austin, San Antonio, and Houston, has become the heart of this transformation. More than 3/4 of Texans already live somewhere inside or near this triangle, and every few months, more people move into its orbit. What used to be 4 separate metropolitan areas are slowly blending together into a vast network of development, jobs, and infrastructure. It's no longer just about cities expanding outward. It's about those expansions meeting in the middle. Take the corridor between Austin and San Antonio. Not long ago, this route was defined by open ranchland and farmland. Now, it's lined with subdivisions, industrial parks, and new communities that make the drive feel like one continuous city. Commuters already travel daily between the two metros, and businesses are setting up shop right along the corridor, knowing they can serve both markets at once. A similar story is unfolding northward, where the Dallas-Fort Worth metroplex continues to stretch outward, spilling into neighboring counties and connecting with smaller cities that have effectively become part of the metro's outer ring. Meanwhile, Houston's sprawl is reaching so far that it's beginning to overlap with regions that used to feel hours away. The real magic, or challenge, behind this lies in the connections forming between them. Massive highway projects, freight routes, and new commuter lines are tying Texas's biggest metros together like never before. What used to be long-haul drives are quickly becoming daily commutes. The web of concrete and development is weaving tighter each year, binding the state's urban cores into a shared ecosystem. From next month, you'll see even more signs of this merging. New subdivisions will rise on land once considered too far out, and employers will advertise jobs that span multiple cities instead of just one. The open space that once defined Texas's identity is giving way to a new kind of frontier, one defined by connectivity rather than distance. What's emerging isn't a set of separate cities anymore. It's the framework of one massive, interconnected supermetro that's quietly redefining what Texas means to live, work, and grow in. The engines behind the expansion. Every surge of growth has a reason behind it, and Texas isn't expanding by accident. Beneath the skyline, cranes and endless new subdivisions lies an economic engine that's been running at full throttle for years. The foundation of this unstoppable rise is built on opportunity, affordability, and a unique mix of industries that keep pulling people in from every direction. What's happening across the state isn't a short-term boom. It's a structural shift that keeps reinforcing itself. The first spark comes from jobs. Texas has become a magnet for employers of every size, from small startups to Fortune 500 giants. Energy still powers a big part of the economy, but the story no longer ends there. Technology, aerospace, healthcare, logistics, and manufacturing have all taken root, creating a diverse foundation that's far more resilient than the oil-driven past. Cities like Austin have turned into tech capitals, attracting engineers and entrepreneurs, while Dallas-Fort Worth has emerged as a financial and corporate hub. Houston continues to lead in energy and medicine, and San Antonio's strength in cybersecurity and defense adds another pillar to the state's modern identity. Each of these sectors feeds the other, creating a self-sustaining cycle of innovation and job creation that keeps new residents pouring in. Taxes are another driving force. The absence of a state income tax makes a difference, especially for families and businesses looking to stretch their earnings. Lower regulations and a pro-business attitude make it easier for companies to set up shop, while the overall cost of living still feels reasonable compared to coastal states. That's why so many Californians, New Yorkers, and Floridians are choosing Texas as their new home. Every time a company relocates or expands here, thousands of workers follow, often bringing their families, their ideas, and their spending power. Housing plays a major role too. Even though prices have climbed sharply in recent years, homes remain more affordable relative to other major markets. Developers continue to build vast master-planned communities just outside major metros, offering what feels like city living without city prices. From next month, more of these communities will break ground across the state's outer rings, connecting with the expanding web of highways and turning once quiet counties into bustling extensions of the big metros. This constant creation of new housing feeds the cycle of migration and economic activity. Infrastructure investment is another crucial piece of the puzzle. Billions of dollars are flowing into new transportation corridors, industrial logistics centers, and power grids designed to handle the growing population. Every project completed opens new areas for development, which in turn attracts even more people and businesses. It's a feedback loop of progress. The more Texas grows, the more it builds to support that growth. And the more growth it invites. Texas has managed to position itself as both an economic powerhouse and a symbol of possibility. The mix of jobs, space, and opportunity keeps its population engine running non-stop. The question now isn't whether people will keep coming, but how this constant flow of talent and capital will reshape what it means to live and work here. Growth has become part of Texas's DNA, and that momentum doesn't appear to be slowing anytime soon. The endless highways. There's a saying in Texas, everything is bigger. That's true for the roads too. Highways here aren't just routes between cities. They're the arteries that keep the entire state alive. From the sky, they look like silver veins stretching endlessly across the land, connecting every metro, suburb, and small town in one vast web of motion. These highways are both the backbone of Texas's rise and one of its greatest growing pains. The expansion of road networks has been one of the most visible signs of Texas's evolution into a mega-region. Interstate 35 slices through the middle of the state, linking Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, and Laredo in a continuous flow of traffic that rarely slows, even late at night. Interstate 45 pushes south from Dallas toward Houston, forming another vital connection in the state's economic triangle. The I-10 corridor, stretching from El Paso through San Antonio to Houston, ties together the West and the Gulf Coast, carrying more freight, commuters, and travelers every day than most states see in a week. The result is an interconnected highway system that allows cities to merge faster than they can plan for it. As populations soar, so does the number of vehicles. Traffic congestion has become an unavoidable part of life for millions of Texans. It's not unusual for a short commute to double in time during rush hour. Every major metro has its trouble spots. The I-35 through Austin, I-45 into Houston, I-30 across Dallas-Fort Worth. But even smaller cities are starting to experience gridlock once reserved for major metros. The irony is that for every new lane added, the relief is short-lived. Within months, that extra space fills up as new residents move in and development sprawls outward. It's a cycle that repeats endlessly. Build, fill, expand, repeat. Massive infrastructure projects aim to keep pace. Multi-billion-dollar expansions, elevated toll lanes, and bypass loops are being constructed to handle the tidal wave of commuters. Some are already open, others are still under construction, and new ones break ground almost every season. These projects don't just connect existing cities, they create new growth corridors. Once a new highway opens, development follows almost immediately. Gas stations, logistics centers, apartment complexes, and retail parks rise along the route within months, transforming empty fields into full communities. From next month, more segments of these mega projects will begin service, further tightening the web between the major metros. There's also a growing focus on high-speed and intercity rail as a way to ease highway congestion. Plans for faster connections between Houston, Dallas, and Austin hint at a future where Texans can move between cities without relying solely on cars. But for now, the car remains king, and the asphalt keeps spreading outward in every direction. The endless highways of Texas are both a symbol and a warning. They represent progress, freedom, and connection, but also congestion, cost, and complexity. Every new road built invites another wave of growth that pushes the edge of the city farther from its center. Texas has mastered the art of expansion, but the question remains: how far can those roads stretch before the open space that defines the state disappears completely? Housing boom or bubble? Everywhere you look in Texas, new homes are rising from the ground. Streets that didn't exist a few months ago now wind through massive new neighborhoods filled with freshly painted houses, manicured lawns, and sold signs. The state's housing boom has been one of the most dramatic in the nation, a reflection of both relentless demand and a deep cultural dream: owning a piece of land under the wide Texas sky. But beneath the excitement lies a growing question. Is this boom sustainable, or is the foundation starting to crack? The demand for housing has surged as new residents pour in from every corner of the country. People leaving high-cost states are flooding Texas cities in search of affordability and opportunity. For years, that promise held true. A family could sell a modest home elsewhere and buy a larger one here with change to spare. Builders rushed to meet that demand, turning farmland into subdivisions almost overnight. Construction cranes became as common as water towers, and housing permits hit record highs across the major metros. From next month, thousands of additional units will be added to the market, especially around Austin, Houston, and Dallas-Fort Worth. But this wave of growth has created a double-edged sword. Home prices in Texas have climbed sharply in recent years, outpacing income growth in many areas. What was once considered an affordable state is starting to feel out of reach for many first-time buyers. In cities like Austin and Dallas, the median home price has doubled over the last decade, while rents have soared just as fast. Even smaller markets like San Antonio and Waco are seeing competition that would have seemed unthinkable not long ago. Some experts describe the situation as a correction in progress, where rising costs and high interest rates are cooling down what was once a red-hot market. Despite the slowdown in sales volume, construction hasn't stopped. Builders continue to bet big on long-term demand. Suburban master plan communities are expanding far beyond traditional city limits, creating self-contained towns with schools, parks, and shopping centers built right in. Developers know that people are still coming. Families, retirees, and remote workers alike, and they're racing to meet them at the edge of urban growth. Every time a new neighborhood opens, another one starts breaking ground just beyond it. The rapid expansion brings both opportunity and risk. When growth happens this quickly, infrastructure can struggle to keep up. Roads, utilities, and public services stretch thin, while environmental impacts multiply as open land disappears. At the same time, rising property taxes and construction costs make it harder for builders to keep prices low, even in outer suburbs. The dream of affordable Texas living is slipping further from reach for many households, forcing buyers to look farther from the cities or settle for less space. Still, housing remains one of the most powerful engines driving the state's economy. Every new home brings jobs, tax revenue, and consumer spending that ripple outward. The question now is whether the momentum can hold steady without tipping into oversupply or price collapse. The market's resilience so far has been remarkable, but like any boom, it has limits. If population growth slows or affordability continues to erode, the bubble could start to strain. For now, though, the construction noise continues. The lights of new neighborhoods glow brighter every night, and Texas keeps building, pushing the boundaries of how far its housing frontier can go. The environmental cost of endless growth, every new highway, subdivision, and shopping plaza comes with a hidden cost. Texas's explosive growth has built one of the most dynamic economies in the country, but it's also rewriting the state's natural landscape faster than almost anywhere else in America. The same expansion that fuels prosperity is consuming the open land, forests, and prairies that once defined the Lone Star State. What used to be sprawling ranchland or untouched wilderness is now a checkerboard of rooftops, asphalt, and artificial lakes. The transformation is happening on a massive scale. Millions of acres that once supported wildlife, agriculture, and natural floodplains have been replaced with pavement and development. As the concrete spreads, it traps heat, pushes out native species, and increases flooding risks in low-lying regions. In fast-growing areas like Central and Southeast Texas, heavy rainfall now overwhelms drainage systems more frequently, as water has fewer natural places to go. Rising demand for water also stretches the limits of local resources. Many reservoirs are under pressure. Aquifers are being pumped faster than they can recharge, and summer droughts are growing longer and harsher. Every new community adds hundreds of lawns, pools, and water-hungry landscapes that multiply the strain. Air quality has become another growing concern. More vehicles on the road mean more emissions, and sprawling development forces longer commutes for millions of Texans each day. Even as cities invest in cleaner energy and public transportation, most of the state still depends heavily on cars. The heat island effect from expanding urban zones only makes matters worse, turning once cool rural regions into hotter microclimates. By next season, you'll notice it in subtle ways. The air feels drier, the heat lasts longer into the night, and the skyline glows with the reflection of tens of thousands of new lights. The coastline tells another story. As development creeps closer to the Gulf, the state faces higher risks from hurricanes and storm surges. Wetlands that used to absorb stormwater naturally are being filled or paved, reducing the natural defenses that once protected inland communities. When growth meets nature's limits, the consequences show up fast. In flooding neighborhoods, eroding shorelines, and costly rebuilding efforts. It's a trade-off that's becoming harder to ignore. Despite these challenges, Texas continues to invest in mitigation and resilience projects. Cities are introducing water reuse systems, expanding green space requirements, and exploring renewable energy sources like wind and solar at unprecedented levels. But the pace of construction often outstrips these efforts. For every acre restored, several more are lost to expansion. The question facing Texas isn't whether it can grow. It's whether it can grow responsibly. The decisions made from next month and beyond will determine whether the state's progress remains sustainable or begins to erode the very land that made it so attractive in the first place. Growth has brought Texas prosperity, but it's also forcing a new reckoning. How much progress can one landscape endure before it starts to push back? The Texas of tomorrow. If today's Texas is a state of booming cities and endless construction, tomorrow's Texas will be something entirely different. A single, interconnected mega-region that blurs the boundaries between urban and rural life. The pace of expansion isn't slowing, and the shape of the state is changing before our eyes. The Texas of tomorrow won't just be a map of separate cities. It will be a continuous flow of energy, industry, and people, stretching across hundreds of miles. The lines between Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, and Houston will continue to fade, giving rise to what could become one of the largest urbanized regions in the world. The emerging Texas Triangle is already a powerhouse, driving most of the state's economy and population growth. As these metro areas grow toward each other, their economies are merging too. A worker might live near Waco, work for a company headquartered in Dallas, and do business with clients in Austin, all without leaving the broader triangle. This regional integration is creating a new kind of urban ecosystem, one where economic opportunity and connectivity matter more than city limits. Every highway, data network, and logistics hub reinforces that shift, pulling the state's biggest metros closer together. From next season, new developments, industrial zones, and transportation links will continue filling the spaces that once divided them. Technology is accelerating this transformation even faster. High-speed internet, automation, and artificial intelligence are reshaping how Texans live and work. Remote work continues to blur the meaning of location, allowing professionals to settle in smaller towns while staying connected to major economic centers. High-speed rail projects and expanded flight corridors could soon make traveling between cities as simple as a short commute. As innovation hubs rise in places like Austin and Dallas, the flow of talent and capital will only grow stronger, attracting new industries and driving more investment into every corner of the state. At the same time, cities are evolving into smarter, more sustainable versions of themselves. Renewable energy is reshaping the power grid, with wind and solar supplying more of the state's needs than ever before. Urban planning is shifting toward mixed-use communities, walkable districts, and smarter infrastructure designed to handle larger populations with less environmental strain. The Texas of tomorrow will rely on cleaner technology, faster mobility, and data-driven decisions to manage its complexity. Still, this future brings new challenges. With millions more residents expected in the coming years, questions about housing, water, and transportation will grow louder. Managing the balance between progress and preservation will define the next phase of Texas's story. The wide open spaces that once symbolized freedom are shrinking, replaced by a new kind of freedom: the ability to live, work, and move seamlessly across an interconnected state. The Texas of tomorrow is not a distant vision. It's unfolding right now. From next month, as more cranes rise on the horizon and new communities break ground, it will become clearer that this isn't just a state growing. It's a region evolving into something much larger. A living network of cities, powered by innovation, bound by infrastructure, and driven by people who continue to believe that in Texas, there's always room to build one more dream. The big question. Texas has always stood for limitless possibility. The open sky, the sprawling land, the belief that growth is a sign of success. But now that growth has become something far larger, something that's reshaping the state itself. The question is no longer how fast Texas can expand, but how much longer it can keep expanding this way. The Lone Star State is on the verge of becoming America's first true mega state, a single connected region where cities, suburbs, and small towns merge into one living system. The challenge is whether that system can sustain itself without breaking under its own weight. Every new highway, business park, and master-planned community pushes the boundaries of what's possible. Infrastructure, once designed for a smaller population, is being tested like never before. Traffic congestion, housing costs, and strain on utilities are already daily realities for millions of Texans. The growth that once felt endless now comes with limits. Limits set by land, by resources, and by time. The state's greatest strength, its ability to attract people and businesses, may soon become its biggest test if expansion outpaces the systems built to support it. Environmental pressures are mounting too. As the population climbs, the natural spaces that once defined Texas are shrinking. Water scarcity is becoming a growing concern, especially across Central and West Texas, where reservoirs and aquifers are under increasing stress. The same weather extremes that draw people here, long summers and open skies, also bring droughts, floods, and power grid challenges that threaten to slow the momentum. From next month and beyond, each new development will add to the equation, forcing leaders and residents alike to ask whether the current model of growth can truly last. Yet, despite these challenges, the Texas story remains one of resilience. The state has reinvented itself before, from oil to tech, from ranchland to innovation hub, and it continues to adapt faster than almost anywhere else in the country. The determination that built Texas is still alive, visible in every new skyline and startup. The coming years will decide whether that determination can turn massive growth into sustainable success. If Texas can strike the balance between expansion and preservation, it could define the blueprint for America's next century of urban life. So here's the big question. How long can Texas keep expanding before it becomes something entirely new? At what point does it stop being a collection of cities and start becoming a single connected civilization? A mega region that redefines what it means to live in America. The transformation is already underway. Whether it becomes the model for the future or a warning of unchecked growth depends on what happens next. Because in Texas, the horizon has always been the limit. But now, even the horizon is starting to disappear.